Hello and welcome to Adobe Live. Thank you so much for joining us today. If we haven't met yet, I'm Jordan Danae Ellis. I work on the Adobe Express community team, and I am joined as always by my favorite Andy Lambert. Hi, Andy.
Hello. Your favorite Andy Lambert. I might be the only Andy Lambert you know,
My
but I'll
favorite
take it. I
person,
will
Andy
take
Lambert.
it, Jordan.
We always do a little bit of social media, online marketing tips and tricks, and today is no different. We're going to talk about what's new in like the whole past season. I think we were doing this monthly, but we have like all of fall to catch up on. So we have lots of new social media updates for today. But
Do indeed.
yeah, before we get started, we can really introduce ourselves. Why don't you go first? I always go first.
Oh, that's very kind of you. Thanks, Jordan.
Yeah.
Hello, I'm Andy. If we've not yet met, I am one of the product managers working on Adobe Express, but 8 years ago was one of the founders of a company called Content Cal, which was a social media marketing platform of which we grew predominantly through social media channels. And in building a social media product, we had to be pretty close to the social media networks themselves and have our finger on the pulse in terms of what was happening. So that's what was the genesis of all of the things that we'll be talking about and all the updates and such. So roll the clock forward until December 21. So it's now been 2 years. Adobe acquired our business, which still feels like an absolute miracle, and still pinching myself for that. But either way, now I get to work with wonderful people like Jordan. So you want to intro yourself?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so Andy and I get to work together on Adobe Express a lot, which is very cool. And my life pre-Adobe and also now a little bit on the side is I've run my own small business since 2011. So for anyone who has to make a lot of marketing assets and just design and make things all the time, but doesn't necessarily want to spend all of your time designing and making things for social because you have other stuff to do. That's why I love Adobe Express so much. And so we love doing these streams because keeping up with everything is really overwhelming. And so we're like doing some of the work of keeping up with all of that for you. So thanks so much for joining us
Exactly.
today. And I'm going to kick us off. Yeah.
I think so. So I think probably one of the best places that we can start, if we're going to dive into your screen share, Jordan, we've been working quite hard on bringing some of a lot of the value from the business that we had created, like I said, 8 years ago, Content Cal it was called, and building in all of that social media functionality into Adobe Express to create a true like end-to-end content marketing platform. So you can design, you can create, use generative AI to build your content plans and strategies and then publish it. But the wonderful Jordan, you can talk through it and give your expert wisdom because you actually use this yourself, don't you?
I use this all the time. And Adobe Express has so many things, like you were just saying, and a lot of new things. So we're going to talk a lot about strategy today, but exactly, I wanted to show off a couple of the latest things that are new in case you've missed it. And also to give some context of what we're talking about when we talk about scheduling to social. And also hi to chat. Sorry, chat. Thanks for being here. Thanks, Jamie and Shay. And Linda, thanks so much for joining. Let us know if you have questions and we'll answer as many as we can in this chat. But yeah, okay, so this is a thank you post that I have been playing with. This is actually almost straight from an Adobe Express template. I just resized it as a square because that's what I like posting. We've talked about that before. You can post, any size you want to most of the platforms, but I make it super easy on myself and just post a square basically everywhere unless it's a video. We have resized, that makes it nice and easy too. But I wanted to show quickly the translate button if you haven't seen that yet, especially for a template like this that's like very straightforward, but even with more complex ones, you can automatically translate. So it has detected that this is English. I want to make like a multi-language carousel post. And I want to be able to post it on Twitter too. So I'm going to pick only 3 other languages. I'm going to pick things that I sort of know to make sure this is right. Spanish is the only one I could really check. So I have 3 languages here. I'm going to hit duplicate and translate. And I am always impressed at how quickly that happens. Like that was pretty fast. So now we have our thank you post in 4 languages. And you can tell like you may want to go through and tweak some of it, like the way the Spanish worked out. I actually want to go in and like move this one, move our text down a little bit. But that's one of my favorite things, especially for this time of year, like being able to do something super quickly to share with like a global community, if that's what you have, I think is really impressive. So now I have my template ready to go. I'm going to hopefully remember how to do this. This is a relatively new way to schedule a carousel post. I think I got it. I checked all the pages that I want.
You got it.
Yeah, I was going to say, you let me know if I'm doing this wrong. Go up to share. My schedule post is here the same way it is if I go into an individual project. So I'm going to hit schedule post. And then I'll select the channels that I want. It's uploading now, and I'll write a little caption. Thank you for being here with us in 2023. All right. I can select the channels. Let's do Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn. And I can preview. So we'll see what they look like. So on Facebook, they're coming out in a carousel like this. Same thing with Twitter. And LinkedIn has like a little bit of a different setup. So I really like checking preview because you can tell what it looks like. If I didn't want, if I didn't love the way this is formatted, I still have time to go back and change anything that I want. So you can scroll through with preview. And then we can look at our calendar here. So I'll have this go out. It's the last day of November. That feels good. In a couple hours. And if I hit schedule here, it is scheduled, and I can see that for myself. If I go to the homepage, hit schedule, and down here, we have these right here. And now, for something completely different that has been asked for a bunch of times, you can duplicate posts again. So if I go into, I like duplicating posts the most on Twitter or X because I feel like posts are, you probably know the actual number. I feel like they're visible for like 2 seconds and that's it. So Twitter is a place that I like to reshare a lot, which I don't do as much on my other feeds. So I can go into more options, hit duplicate post, and now we have another version. So I could tweak the caption a little bit and say something nice and short with a little emoji. So if anyone happens to see both, you know, they don't know that it's a duplicated post. And then I can schedule this for maybe next week. And now I'll have that. If I look over to November, I have this one here. So that is like what we're talking about when we talk about using Content Scheduler in Adobe Express. Did I miss anything, Andy?
No, but I tell you what you can do just before we go over and start sharing my screen. You drag and drop and move stuff around because it always just looks so nice when you can just move, especially when you're duplicating posts. You might think, oh, you know, I want something on, you know, every week or every month that I want to call out a special thing we might do every month. So you can duplicate the post, slide it to different months, etc. So this can be your content planner. So it's not just about scheduling, about organizing your content too. And we'll talk lots about content strategy. Well, we always talk lots about content strategy, but we'll be talking a bit about it today too. But yeah,
that's especially useful if you're scheduling a lot and then you go to your calendar and you're like, oh, I accidentally scheduled like 4 posts on the same day because I just put them all for tomorrow or whatever. So it's really nice to just be able to drag things around. 100%.
Yeah. I love it. Love it. All right. Well, let's jump into it, shall we? So
yeah,
let's go into the deck because there's quite a few things to talk about that's happened. I've got it titled as November here, but really this encompasses some themes that I've been governing fall. So it's quite difficult for me to call it fall rather than autumn, given where you can tell my accent's from. But never mind, we'll go with fall.
It sounds so fancy. I love autumn. I just feel like a poser if I say that.
I love it. Go for it. So if you've joined us, we've been running these for quite a while now. I've lost count of the times that we've done this, but we try and do this every single month. Like. It really does. Yeah. So what we try and do is encapsulate everything that's happened over the course of a month in the next 40 minutes. So whilst there's a lot of information coming at you, don't think for a moment that you need to do everything or take an action on anything at all. Really, this is your opportunity to sit back, grab a drink, and feel like you'll be on top of what's happening across the world of social media over the next 40 minutes. So it's your chance to feel like completely in control, on top of things, whilst there's always tests and always feels like it's changing all the time. Actually, once we go through these things, you'll notice that all of these changes and updates are governed just by a handful of themes. So having a pulse check on these themes and the things that are governing the direction of social can really help us plan out our strategies, particularly timely because we're going to be thinking about 2024 now, so which is
exactly
kind of nuts, isn't it?
Yes. And before we get started, can I ask a question from chat?
Of course. Yeah, absolutely.
So Ralph is asking, is there a way to add music, links, etc. for Instagram stories if you schedule through the scheduler?
I love that question. So right now, you can add music in Adobe Express, but you really want the kind of trending sounds from Insta, to be honest with you. So stay tuned for that, because that's all going to be made possible when we release the mobile app on the mobile version of Adobe Express, which is in the works. And yeah, Jordan, you're
I
very
didn't
close
know
to that
and
too.
I was fully expecting like a sorry no answer. So this is great news for me too.
Some good stuff coming there. So yeah, stay tuned on that one, Ralph. So lots coming.
Awesome. And Michael says that he can be more organized with a scheduler. So that's great.
Exactly. Couldn't have said it better myself. And also a quick plug before we get started. Jordan and I have a newsletter. So if you want to keep tabs on everything that's happening, also quite timely as well, because the next edition comes out tomorrow. So I'll be sending you a draft to review very shortly, Jordan.
I was going to say, oops, I didn't help with that at all. So good.
So you'll see the link there. I don't know, Jordan, if you could pop that in the chat at all. So every month you'll get the recap of this, the recording, plus all of the other interesting things that we found in the world of social to help you create content. That's what we're all about: speeding up content creation, improving your social media strategies. Because Jordan and I come at it from two different but quite complementary perspectives. Jordan all about small business, social media. Me more about kind of the corporate B2B orientated side of things. But both, trying to do a lot with a little. I think that's where we overlap quite nicely.
And I think probably lots of people can relate to that. So I don't think it's just the two of us.
Exactly. Right, let's dive into it, shall we? Trends and then updates. Obviously, Jordan, I'll come to you for your takes on a few things, but chime in whenever, and feel free to pop in. As soon as you see anything in chat, stop me, and we can go into it. All right, let's talk about news consumption, because the world of news consumption on social is changing. And I think this has wider implications than just news. And I'll talk about that in a second. Firstly, let's look at the high level around what we're seeing here. So unsurprisingly, there are a few of the primary news consumption platforms that are declining. X, for obvious reasons that we won't go into right now. Facebook, naturally, we've seen a decline of news on Facebook. More and more people, however, are getting their news from Insta and TikTok, as well as getting their news from other platforms that I did not expect so much. From Twitch and Nextdoors, the smaller communities are starting, and we'll talk about this a lot, actually. Smaller and niche communities are performing incredibly well. And there's so much potential in those. So you and I talk about this quite a lot, Jordan. I think we'll definitely... we'll have a bit of narrative on that at some point today as well.
Is Nextdoor like the neighborhood app?
Yeah, exactly.
No way. That's really funny to see that here.
Exactly. We never really talk about it, but it is growing. Like, it's not a massive platform like the rest of them, but we're all of those type of platforms that facilitate those smaller connections and connections to those smaller communities, starting to really see them garner more and more interest. And like I said, this is not just about news. The other implications here is that the way that who we trust is changing, and where we have our preferences is shifting. We're shifting away from mainstream media channels, the trusted news sources, which, I'm from the UK, so it used to be the BBC, but we have less trust in all of the mainstream media now. So now what typically people are doing are spending time following people that they've chosen to trust. So whether it's like creators or influencers or in their own communities, whomever, that's the kind of shift of where we're consuming media, because we actually want other people's takes on this. We're all looking for for the truth and authenticity. So that means what we're seeing is increasing growth of those, of both kind of micro influencers, macro influencers, smaller communities. And it also means for us as businesses and people that are trying to grow our brands on social, it means that people are increasingly going to platforms like Insta and TikTok to consume information, to be educated, to be informed. And that means, you know, those users will be in the mindset to receive type of content that we would be publishing to. So I think this is actually very positive overall. So long narrative from me, but I think it's important. Any takes on this, Jordan?
No, I every time I hear about like news on social, I don't really do that. But then I was just thinking about, I spend like a lot of my feeds are media, and that's where I get all my media news for sure. Like what movies people are actually watching, what shows are actually good. So I guess in my like specific version of it, I totally do this.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. It's like, it's not just mainstream media
Yeah.
news, it's that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think this is a really important shift, actually. Just shows the increasing power of social media and the power of like influence of like individual personalities as well. The more that we can represent the personality behind our brands, the more successful we'll be on social. We've been speaking about the growth of TikTok for the last 18 months or so. Like anything that explodes with growth, naturally it will plateau. Now, don't think for a minute TikTok is going away or becoming any less important with these comments. But interestingly, when you start to see teen consumption, this is a good barometer for checking like, where does the future of social media and where is it going? So whilst TikTok's performing really well and it's passed YouTube for teens content consumption for the first time, which is incredibly powerful, just for what it's worth, the vast majority of teens consumption on social is all across TikTok and YouTube. So if you're targeting teens or you want to influence teens as part of your marketing strategy, those clearly are two very important platforms to leverage. But both shorts and reels have seen significant user upticks and are kind of eroding a little bit of TikTok's growth. TikTok took a jump start on this short form content format, as we all know, of which, you know, Insta, YouTube, and everyone fell over themselves to create some short form video alternative. And it seems to be working. Why does it seem to be working? It's because of this. This number is massive.
Oh, that's wild.
50% of the time people spend on Instagram is spent watching reels. So I bring up this guy quite a lot, head of Instagram, Adam Mosseri. Do follow him if you don't already, because you'll get your Insta news first from Adam. And I think it's a really important thing because, you know, he does this ask me anything, and you can see here someone's asked, do reels get ranked higher than other posts? Like any great politician or business leader, he doesn't answer the question,
right?
But he does answer it with an interesting tidbit of information, which helps us kind of infer, yeah, probably reels do get ranked higher, because if they've grown that quickly, it's only because they're getting prioritized. So
Yeah.
I don't know if you got any thoughts on this one, Jordan.
No, I mean, I feel like if you have seen our streams before, you know, I don't really get into the weeds of analytics. I just kind of wing it. I'm a go with your gut analytics person. But I feel like I have personally never spent a ton of time trying to figure out algorithms, like figure them out, because I would rather just spend that time making my content better, because like that's what has always worked for me. Which I think is valuable too. But I do think, at least in the very, very general sense, it totally makes sense that like the things that people like seeing more are the things that platforms will prioritize. I feel like that's probably generally a no-brainer, like forever. So it's like, oh yeah, people are liking reels because they're interesting and engaging. Probably that's the way to go. Even, you know, if there isn't like a reason that's what I would go with.
I'm so with you, and I think you make a super important point, and I think it's worthwhile bearing this in mind and kind of repeating this as we go through all of the other changes and updates, because it's very easy to get in the weeds of social media and go like, what time should I post? Right, well, how many hashtags should I use? What format should I use? Should I use reels? Or I think live streams are working well right now. None of that matters if your content is bad, right? So,
or you're not posting at all. Like the number of friends I've seen that spend so much time making a plan and like doing all the research of like how to do it and then don't post anything drives me bonkers. So like post things, please, please, please post them.
Well, I think that is even more important now because what all the platforms are mostly concerned about is there is a big decline of people posting in the feed. We're going to talk about this more.
That makes
And
sense.
so those that are willing to take the leap to post in a feed are the ones that will typically garner more attention. So yeah, we'll talk more about that. But yeah, you speak so much sense, Jordan, as per usual, and keep it nicely simple, which I love. Right, we're going to go network by network and look at these updates. Of course, not every network you'll be interested in. Feel free to screenshot the stuff you're interested in. Tune out for the stuff that you're not. But
This is a good time to say too, this is being recorded. So you can find this on the Adobe Live YouTube channel or as a replay wherever you're watching it. So feel free if you're overwhelmed to like ping the parts you want to go back to, and then this is available for you.
Exactly that. So the recording, and also we'll be sending out the slide deck in our newsletter. You can link to it. Yes. So find the bits that you need. Anyway, Insta. Add collaborators to broadcast channels. Jordan, every time I look at these things, I'm like, oh, we need to do this.
I know.
Like, we need a broadcast channels, kind of one-to-many communication, if you're not familiar with it already. The reason Insta are pushing these, one, they've grown really quickly. Two, it's another way to get people sharing and spending time on the platform without posting in the feed, right? So you're going to see this a lot. And like we were just talking about, broadcast channels allow you to collect an audience of people. And when you publish a message, it will go to all of them, right? As the name suggests, broadcast channel. So it's kind of like having an email subscriber base. So I think this is super important. And every time I talk about them, I'm like, Jordan, we really need to get on this. And the fact you can now add collaborators works perfectly now.
And this is me immediately not taking my own advice. We absolutely should have this, and we don't do it. So, do as I say, not as I do, obviously.
It happens to all of us. We'll talk about it and we know about it, but we still can't take action on everything, right? So, we're all here together trying to make it up as we go along. Anyway, but we could look at this through two lenses. So one, we could look at this from our own business perspective and go, all right, well, how could do we have a community that we can connect together and like unite them all around a theme? And could we get other people to collaborate? So this could be an example of like Jordan and I doing these social media updates through another channel. But also we can flip it on its head and think about it as businesses in a different perspective and go, now there's this collaborators option. This now kind of unlocks the ability for us to find people that do have these broadcast channels, because you can go ahead and find these on Insta pretty easily. People that are talking about the space that you're interested in exactly the same way like Jonah talks about this stuff. He talks about social media updates and tips as well. He can now have collaborators. So why don't I collaborate, or Jordan and I collaborate with Jonah to reach his audience? We'll have to figure out what the value exchange is, and it's not always paying someone money to have them post about you. It actually works better when you don't pay any money. You find some kind of mutual value exchange. Like Jonah might feature me or Jordan on one of his broadcast channels, and we can return the favor by inviting him to one of these webinars, whatever it might look like. Finding those collaborations, those opportunities to work with others will truly unlock growth on social. And I talk about this all the time because it's the bit that, I will die on this hill, put it that way. Like, we need to focus more about like what other people are saying about us than what we put in our own feeds. And that's the thing that will really unlock growth. You've been great at collaborating, right? So I don't know if you've got any examples you can share here. You do this fairly free.
Yeah, I do. I did a series I stopped over the summer of Instagram lives that I collaborated with, and it was nice. I did it with our Adobe Express ambassadors. So it was cool because we got to we have something in common. We're all talking about Adobe Express, but we could share with our audiences. So like they could reach my audience, I could reach theirs. And in my personal side business, I've done that with I have a fashion brand. So for my customers, they can collaborate with me as like user generated content. I haven't done I haven't done broadcast channels, but I've done lots of like collaborative posts like that, which honestly, they're kind of win-win. I mean, we've done it before too. Like when we have these streams coming out, we both have the same graphic. So like instead of us both posting the same graphic with the same caption, we can like split the work and then just collab post, and it's great.
Goes to both of our feeds. So
yeah,
that's the magic of social media, getting it in as
and
many
we can
people's
both
feeds
see
as
the
possible.
comments, which is great too. So like if someone's asking Andy a question or me a question, we both see them, so we can like know what people are talking about, which is great too. Because I
Super
don't
powerful.
snoop on your comments all the time, but if I get notifications because it's a collaborative post, that I see everyone asking both of us stuff.
Yeah, it's such a good call out. So important. Cool. All right. Next, you can now tag broadcast channels in your feed post. So if you do have a broadcast channel, you can now promote it as well. So just goes to show when you start to see all these features coming around a certain like area of in a product, you know that Instagram are pushing it quite hard and heavily at the moment. So yeah, if this sounds like an opportunity for you, could be a good opportunity to get on it right now. This is cool. I personally really like it because this is like the next level of engagement.
Oh yeah.
Because yeah. So now we can reply to comments on Insta with a story. So here we can just take this comment, swipe, make it a story, and then we can reply to that comment with a story. So just really helps like build that audience engagement, build that participation, because social media is not about like posting once and then hoping people will take some action. It's about encouraging participation at content. So yeah, love this one a lot.
That's very cool.
This one is probably you could be mixed on this one. So Insta now allows for boosting of posts you've been mentioned in. So if I mentioned Jordan in a post, we now have the opportunity to boost it. So that's another good thing for collabs, as we were talking about, and working with others. It means they can go further, so people can boost it. Just one kind of word of warning or caution here. I was talking to someone earlier about this, and they raised a good point, is that if you've been tagged in something that you don't necessarily want to be tagged in, then someone can also now has the ability to boost that. So, you know, you retain the capability as choosing you want in or out, but the fact that it's now a possibility does open up a bit of opportunity. Insta have opened a partnership with Amazon, which is interesting. Interesting in a couple of ways, and we'll keep this description short because whilst this screenshot doesn't tell the whole story. So Instagram shops, you'll know that we were talking about this lots, maybe a year ago or something. So Insta and Facebook like really lent into, you know, social shopping being a thing. It hasn't really kind of manifested. So if you're kind of B2C or a consumer brand, of which you are as well, Jordan, right? So you have your own shop. Your shop's built on what? Is it like Shopify?
Shopify, yeah.
Right. Cool.
I don't think I have any Amazon integrations, but that's super cool for people who do.
So yeah, that could if your shop was built on Amazon, for example, then you can now link it directly with your Insta account, and people can purchase directly from the feed. So link to your products and purchase directly. Cool. So if you fit that kind of like use case, then this could be really good. And it's interesting that Insta seem to be rowing back on like Insta being the kind of Shopify of social media and actually more working with, you know, existing merchants, whether it's Shopify or Amazon, realizing that many businesses don't want to move all of their shopping capabilities to Insta. So I think that's what's gone on here. Next one, a notification sticker. Very useful feature, and this is very similar to a feature that exists on LinkedIn that many people don't know about. Is you've got a little bell icon, and if people have clicked the bell icon in your profile, it means they get a ping every time you post. So I always forget to point people there. Not many people know about it. So maybe if you're into LinkedIn, so for those of you that are watching this on LinkedIn, then I'm assuming you're probably into LinkedIn. Whenever you post, make sure you're kind of directing people to that little bell icon, so to make sure people will see your content. So that's a bit of a side note on LinkedIn, but the same is now true of the stickers that you can now put in Insta. So like, for example, as I do these weekly updates, I'm going to now be applying this sticker to the weekly, because I do a little kind of weekly video as an Insta reel. I want to make sure people get notified when I do that. rather than it leaving up to algorithmic chance as to whether people see the content. So this could be a really useful one. I'm going
There
to
are
pause
so many cool stickers too. I was looking for something and I was like, oh, there are so many stickers I've never used. So that is really helpful. Just every once in a while look in there.
Do you use many of them? Many stickers in content?
I use the link pretty often. Sometimes I use the mention sticker, like I just at people too, and I do polls and questions relatively often. So just those kind of main ones. But even looking at it now, I've never started an add yours. Like I've joined some of those, but that'd be fun to try sometime.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
And sometimes I just add, like, I think we have some Adobe stickers. So sometimes I look in there and add those.
I like those. Cool. Sharing feed posts and reels with close friends. So not much business value in this, but I wanted to talk about this because this once again just shows what we were talking about earlier about the decline of feed posting, like why stories continues to grow as a format, why broadcast channels continue to be a really heavily promoted thing, and now Insta leaning even more into like sharing to close friends and having like circles of individuals. Yeah. So you could use this a number of ways, but I think the overriding thing is that less people are feeling willing to share in the feed, and I've just heard this anecdotally from people too, increasingly less desiring less to share in the feeds. So I don't know if you feel that way about Insta at all, whether your viewpoint's changed.
I basically decided when I started being on the internet that my life was an open book and whatever I share anywhere is going to be everywhere. That's just been my like mantra. One thing that I do think is cool, I do not recommend this way to do it. I think honestly, if close friends had been available sooner, I may have set up my profiles differently. I run 3 Instagram accounts, which again, do not recommend, but I have one that's just like my personal, and I would actually rather have it be just like a close friends option on my business account, but I just have it separately. It's a pain though. So like again, do not recommend. And if this had been an option however many years ago when I set up my profiles, I probably would have done it differently, but now I'm just doing it. Now that's just what I have.
Love it. That's so interesting. Reels have also added a whole load of capabilities around editing, new text-to-speech stuff as well. So they're unlocking a lot more kind of editing capabilities. But the bit that I particularly like is the GIF clip hub, because, who doesn't love a GIF?
Yeah.
And make it easier to add those GIF clips into your reels as well. So Insta are just leaning a lot more into helping people like get reels out the door, reducing the challenge of creation, so you can unleash your creativity a little bit more. Of course, you've got Adobe Express for that too. So, but either way, you're starting to get like a really strong suite of tools to help you create video content without needing to be a video editor. So I think that's the important thing, because certainly, as soon as short form video started taking off as a content format, many were like, I don't know how to create video, etc. But like the barriers are coming down and down all the time to help you create video. And
I want to use this as a minute to pitch the Adobe Express video templates too, because one, I'm not a video editor, and 2, I don't spend quite enough time on the platforms to have like a log of good ideas of videos. Like I feel like that's the best way to do this, like be on Reels and be on TikTok and be like, oh, this is a great idea that I can like do my own twist on. I don't have like I just don't have that in my brain most of the time. So I look at Adobe Express video templates a lot, and that makes it so much easier, especially for things like recaps. Like I do like event recaps or things like that. And so it's just like really easy to just be able to pop in your own video, your own text, and it's already like formatted for you. I love that.
Yeah, 100% with you on that. Some new Reels insights tools. Yeah, as Jordan knows, I'm I'm quite a fan of numbers and looking at this kind of stuff. So just as a more of an FYI, I keep it very high level. And the thing that I particularly like about how Reels are now counting metrics is that they're separating out plays from initial plays and replays. Replays are super useful because the more people replay your video and watch it again, the further your reel will be displayed in other people's feeds. You will get more reach. So it's a really important signal for Instagram, and the same is true of TikTok too. The more people that rewatch the same video, the further it's going to go. For the simple reason that all that Insta and TikTok and all the social platforms really want is people to spend as much time on the platform as possible. So a very key signal of good quality content as a platform see it is people rewatching that video. So try and optimize for that. So if you're looking back at content this year, thinking about what you might do next year, look at the ones that have had the highest replays, because they're the things that you'll definitely want to take inspiration from to build moving forward. And then your retention time. So I need to take my own advice here as well, because I look at my TikTok videos, which are 90 seconds long, which they shouldn't be. They should be shorter, because I see my audience retention like drop off because they get bored of my voice, clearly. So I need to do it shorter. But whatever you really want to say, try and articulate it the best way you can within that first kind of 7 seconds where you can see a big drop off. Either way, that'll help you orientate your content as you're kind of thinking, building videos, potentially using those video templates in Adobe Express that you just spoke about, Jordan. Thinking about where those killer messages and those hooks come in. I think it's a really important stat. Cool. You can now download your Reels clips if you want to. You can also disable this. Cool. So if you want to save them for another day or share them elsewhere, you now can. You also can download other people's clips. So if you don't want people downloading your stuff, you can disable this. I think cynically, the reason Insta want this to happen is that they want more people to share their Reels on TikTok. So, they're basically in a fight back to what TikTok did to Insta. Alrighty, Facebook. There's a couple of very interesting things in Facebook, and we'll go a bit quicker now. Number one, ad-free Insta and Facebook is now live. So you can thank the European Union for this, because new regulations in Europe have meant that there's some more advertising restrictions. You need to offer an ad-free version of your platform. They've made it quite expensive, and they've also made it kind of hard to subscribe to. So whether people will actually take this up, I don't know. I'm going to be fascinated to see what ad-free social media might look like. And we see in all of these polls that people hate ads on social, but do they hate them enough to pay for something?
I don't.
I'm not sure.
Not me.
Me neither. So yeah, curious to know anyone in the chat whether the motivation of having ad-free social media experience is enough for you to part with $13 a month, 13 euros a month, whatever.
Oh, and just a quick note about chat. Some of them are being a little goofy for me. So if you asked a question that we haven't answered, please just ask again, because I may have missed it. Anyway, ask your question again if you have it.
Cool. All right. No worries. And the good thing about chat, especially on LinkedIn, I'll be looking at it afterwards. So we can always chime in. We can now create Reels from existing video clips. So if we've uploaded a bunch of videos already in Facebook over our years, I certainly wouldn't want to reuse any of the videos I've uploaded to Facebook over my past.
Absolutely not. Nope.
Rather than go into the abyss, never to be seen again. But if they are some videos that you are happy sharing again, you can now easily edit them into Reels if you want to as well. But again, sometimes starting from scratch or using some of the video templates in Express might actually be an easier option.
Yeah.
But A/B testing for organic Facebook posts. This, I think, is super cool. We talk loads about testing and trying new things, etc. But testing is never actually possible on social, or experimentation isn't really possible on social, because you can never replicate the exact same environment from one post to the other, right? But what you can now do on Facebook is do a split test of different captions. So here they will take 3 captions. Of course, I'm sure I think there's some AI generated element to help you create a caption. Not entirely sure, but it makes sense if there was. Either way, you can run a caption test if you want to. For the first 30 minutes, it'll be an even split 2 or 3 ways across these different captions with the same media. And then whatever is the winning one will then get displayed ongoing. I think that is super, super useful. Really helps us understand like the narratives and the captions that help generate our engagement. I would definitely encourage anyone, if you are posting on Facebook, just to give this one a go. Super, super useful.
It's nice too, because I feel like I've done kind of versions of that where like you do different types of posts and see what does better, but A/B testing is when you actually have the same post with just like one difference, because there are so many reasons why certain posts do better than others. So I feel
100%.
like this is super useful.
Yeah, such a good point. This also is massive, absolutely massive. Increasing discoverability for creators. I think I shared this a few months ago. I was testing out, based on some advice that I caught wind of. I was testing out my Facebook account, which I turned into professional mode. So similar to way on LinkedIn, you've got like creator mode, and all of the platforms are really leaning into creators, really, because it makes sense for all the platforms. They want people that are creating content on the platform, right? You know, all of these social networks need creators, because it's like Netflix having good shows, right? That's what all of the platforms need. So what they've never done before until now has gift creators with increased reach, because that's what all of us want, right? We want as much visibility as possible, right? If we're trying to build our business or personal brands. So what Facebook are doing, and the first time I've ever seen them, like, you dangle this carrot of like, oh, you can get increased reach if you do these things, which I'm in for, because there you go. Well, I'm a sucker for it, because like, show me how.
Yes.
I'm all in. So if you go through these steps and these rewards, basically it's about Facebook trying to get you to create more reels. So go through these steps. They're pretty easy to do. Basically, get a streak of regularly posting. To your earlier point, Jordan, it's about creating that regularity of like, just do it. It might suck at first, but it will get better. So you just need, like anything, just build the muscle, continue to do it. But if you pass these steps, which aren't actually that difficult, then you'll be rewarded with increased visibility. Don't actually know what that means, but naturally it's tempting enough to go ahead and follow it through, I think, because that this is really what Facebook want. They want more people creating on the platform, and it's what we want as creators, to be able to kind of raise our profile. Yeah. So whilst you might not even consider yourself a creator, if you're watching this, you might like run a small business or whatever, and I wouldn't call myself a creator either. I don't know if you self-identify with that either, Jordan, or if you do.
I do.
Okay.
I don't call myself a designer, but I call myself a creator.
Interesting. So, and I don't know if everyone would identify with that, but either way, like if you're regularly posting, again, like building that kind of personal image behind your brand, super, super powerful. So yeah, flipping your LinkedIn account to creator mode, to Facebook to professional mode, seemingly has some significant impact on like your performance. Long narrative, but I think it's important. Like, Jordan, is there anything else you want to add on this one?
I don't think so. I mean, but I think you talking about testing it, like we've mentioned in the past, like don't jump all in on everything. Like don't, everything new that comes, don't devote like all your time and energy to it. But I think there is a merit in trying new things like this, because I mean, one, it can't hurt, and two, it's a platform you're, already on. So like look at all those options available to you and see if there's anything you want to try differently.
Definitely agree with that. Cool. Some new insights for creators too. We've spoken about insights already. Also, creators have a little subscribe button too, so people can subscribe to get notified of your updates too. So lots coming in. As you can see, this is on Insta. Lots happening across Facebook and Insta, because essentially they're all doing the similar things, Meta products. But yeah, as you can see, so much happening for creators. Also, a lot happening around threads. I'm going to talk more about threads in a moment, actually, but basically, long story short, is that Meta are what I'd class as going full meta and pushing threads in every single surface imaginable. So put it this way, threads is not going away anytime soon by the looks of it.
We did have a question about threads, just if, just about it. So great.
Oh, okay, cool, nice. Well, we'll definitely get into that. And I don't know, I'll put a couple of threads things in my in the Facebook section. We'll come to threads in a second, but now you've got alt text on threads too. Again, another important step in the development of the platform. Not going to talk about X too much, but if you are into X, they are building up their new version, their own version of ChatGPT. It's going to be called Grok, and it launches, I think, either next week or the week after. So it's basically ChatGPT trained on Twitter data, or X data, pardon me, which means it's going to be more up to date, but there are substantial downsides to that too. So I'm not going to have too much narrative on this today because, ends up being like a political debate when you start talking about X. So we'll just gloss over that.
Fair.
But there are some more AI stuff, is some more AI stuff coming to LinkedIn. I'm not entirely sure how I feel about this, but this is new kind of AI article summaries. So if something's too long and you can't be bothered to read it, it will give you a summary of it and your kind of quick takeaways. So it could be quite useful because sometimes you don't know if you want to invest the next 15, 20 minutes in reading something. So it could give you a nice kind of high level on it. But you do end up missing a lot when you don't read something completely. So interesting one. But what is very interesting in
I
with
like
this
that.
Job fit analysis. So if you're looking for jobs at the moment, like just a simple chatbot, am I a good fit for this job? It's going to analyze your profile, your skills, analyze the job spec, and try and see where the overlaps or disconnects are. That's a really good, for me personally, I think it's a really good utilization of AI. What do you reckon?
No, that's amazing. And I know a lot of people looking for jobs right now. So hopefully something like that will help.
Yeah, really hope so. Few other things to cover. We've covered the bulk of it now. Customize your TikTok algorithm. So your For You feed, you're now going to have some customization control to it.
This is great. This is really great.
Go on. Why do you think this is so good?
Well, one thing is, and I don't think I'm the only person who this has happened to, if you happen to go down a weird rabbit hole once and then your entire feed is that forever and you're like, I was just curious for like one day and I want to see this forever. That's nice.
I really want to know what that rabbit hole was, Jordan, but it might not be one for live stream.
The other thing too, though, is if you don't spend a lot of time on TikTok, because I didn't at first. And so mine, like when I first started using TikTok, I didn't like jump on the train as fast as everyone else. So when I signed in, everyone had these like super custom feeds and mine wasn't because they didn't know me yet. So it's kind of nice to not have to like put in the time for it to like get to know you. You can just say, this is what I want.
That's such a good point. And I'm curious to know like whether many people will do this, because it then makes TikTok much more intentional. So if mine will be all about like marketing tips and tactics, etc. So that could be very useful, because it's going to mean that people will have more intent in terms of what they're seeing, which gives us our content more opportunity to be seen. Cool. The rest, more opportunities come to threads. Threads are just building out like alt text being featured in more areas on Facebook, like we've spoken about. We now have the ability to pin posts as well. All the things that that exist on the other platforms, they're now just kind of catching up. So it's becoming a much more fully baked platform. Ad-free subscription coming to Snapchat. So as you can see, more ad-free social media stuff is coming. So again, like something we're just keeping an eye on. I don't think you need to worry about it or concern yourself with it right now. But yeah, every month we'll be giving you an update on this one. And I think this is two more. So Google is showing follow account in search results. The world of like search and social I often talk about because I find them very interesting. They're overlapping increasingly. So it used to be the case that if you want to go find something, you Google it. But the power is shifting a bit more to social. More people are now searching on social first and searching Google. Google are aware of this, so they're featuring more social results in their search results, and also including follow accounts now too. So again, just goes to show the importance of like building our social presence will also impact like our search results too. And YouTube, building out a For You feed, unsurprisingly, because of the success of Shorts, we touched on a little bit earlier that YouTube Shorts are doing really well. Don't sleep on YouTube because there's a lot of opportunity on it. So that doesn't mean you need to drop everything to go towards YouTube, but definitely one to explore because it's a growing platform and eroding a bit of market share from TikTok as well too. And with that, you made it. How long? Oh, good. We got 5 minutes or so for a summary. It's a bit worried we weren't going to make it in time then. But 5 minutes for the summary. And I think really, if you're going to take away anything from this session, take away these 4 points really. The direction of social media in general is just changing. I feel we're for a really interesting 2024. Spoke about decline of feed post sharing. We rise of those small niche communities as a result gives us more opportunity, but also increases the complexity of social media marketing. It's not just like, hey, stick it on Facebook and Insta and we're done.
And people will see it, yeah.
Exactly. There's a little more to it. Will ad free subscriptions be a thing? Like maybe. I don't know, too early to tell, but the future could be very, very different for brands. Reels doing incredibly well. I mean, most of the updates that we shared today were Insta updates, mostly around Reels. So a lot of emphasis and energy is going into that. Clearly, if we want to grow on Insta, then Reels really is the primary format for you to leverage it. Or lean into that growth rather. And then Facebook spoke loads about creators. Don't need to reiterate it, but yeah, think about the importance of creators, how you can maybe get your mindset more thinking like you're a creator. Be more Jordan, basically, is the message here. And Threads is climbing again. There's a lot of momentum around Threads. Now, me personally, I'm still in the kind of like vague experimenting mode. I post there once a week. Not really sure. Don't spend a lot of time on the platform right now. Curious to know if anyone does. I'm considering it like the toe in the water type of scenario right now. Definitely want to keep an eye on because Meta have form in copying people's features. So now copying Twitter and making it work for them. They made it work for Reels. They made it work for Stories. Why won't they make it? Why wouldn't they make it work for Threads as well? So yeah, definitely want to keep an eye on, but we'll be sharing like updates around that every month next year too. But that is the last of the updates for this year, actually.
That's wild. Yeah, I'm really curious. I know we only did a little bit today, but I'm super curious how like all of the AI tech and new opportunities will change this in the next year too. Like, especially if like we did have some updates about kind of personalizing your feed and like making the platform work for you, like the way LinkedIn has like even more opportunities for like connecting with the right job. Like I'm really curious to see how all of that is going to change social in the next year, and I can't imagine it won't be much, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's gonna be another big year in 2024. But the kind of TLDR is, you know, social media is only getting bigger and more impactful as far as like its influence on people and the way that people buy products. So when I'm thinking about social media from a marketing perspective, it's only getting more and more impactful, and that's the thing that keeps me excited about the opportunity, because there still is nothing that can grow a business like doing social media well, personally.
Yeah. The one thing I'll say too, for anyone who hears that and that's overwhelming instead of exciting, if it's like, oh my God, social is too big, it's taking too much of my time, I think there's a balance. And that's what I love so much about the world of like online networking and online marketing is, even though it seems like there are rules, like we kind of talked about it, there are like algorithm rules ish, you really can cater it and make it what you want it to be. So depending on what your goals are, you don't have to have 1 million followers, you don't have to be on every platform. And we mentioned the like smaller niche community. Especially for folks who get drained by the idea of like posting all the time, posting the right way, getting the right number of views. Like that does not have to be what you do with this. You could build a network of people you love talking to every day that doesn't stress you out, that gets you what you need. You don't have to be on every platform. So it's like everything in life, it's an eternal balance of like find the path. Like Andy and I do social very differently. And we if we had to trade, I think we would hate it. Like we found the ways that we like, you know what I mean? You look at your
Hmm.
analytics all the time. I maybe haven't looked at all this year, if I'm being honest. So like we, you know, you just find what works for you. And I think that's very cool.
What a lovely summary. And yeah, you said that absolutely beautifully. And yeah, I think that the overwhelm is real. And even though I like talking about numbers, I still struggle to find the time to look at it. Like if we
Fair.
need
Yeah.
to need to be real.
Yeah.
It is, social media is a part of all of our kind of jobs. We still need to find time for it. But like you found the platform that's comfortable for you. I'd still major on LinkedIn. As much as I talk about the other platforms, there's still ones that I'll spend more of my time in because, as you say, so rightly about like where do you get your energy from? Because
Yeah.
you're gonna need to carry on doing it if you're gonna start doing it. So yeah, you need to find a way that is going to give you that energy to continue.
Yeah. And you should like it. Like you should do the version that you like. So with that,
Ah,
um,
love it.
yeah, we'll be back with more updates in the new year. But I'm Jordan Janae Ellis. This is Andy Lambert. We are not going anywhere. We're online all the time in case you can't tell. So feel free to send us your questions in between our streams. And I think that's it for today. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. Speak to you
Bye
soon.
everyone.
Bye bye. Bye.